My boy Travis Wingfield sat down with not only Mike McDaniel, but Chris Grier. So, going to see what they have to talk about before the 2022 NFL Combine. What is up, Fin fans? You guys have been hitting me up, telling me to react to this, and you guys are enjoying these reaction videos, especially during the off season. So I'm going to keep doing them. That's how you could tell. You're looking at this angle, you're looking, this. My webcam isn't as high quality as the Canon, but it's still pretty good. I'm going to react to something. So we're going to be reacting to this. And then I think tomorrow or sometime this week, I'm going to give you a list of possible free agents I kind of want the Dolphins to target. It doesn't mean that they're going to, because some of them are pricey, but I think we're going to target that. But before we jump into this video, I have to shout out some new members and a new patron. On the member side, we have David Massey and Michael Austin. Thank you guys so much for joining the membership. And on the Patreon side, we have Jim Dag. Thank you so very much for joining the Patreon and the memberships. Fun, little behind the scenes, right? If this light looks a little different to you, I'm trying a different color. Obviously, it's going to look different because this webcam, I can't get the color right. I had to put a new light up. So yesterday, I went to turn the lights on just to check them out, and this one went out. Because you guys remember, this one went out, and then I kept it off because we were winning. I thought it was a good luck charm. This one went out. So all you guys who joined the Patreon and the members, you guys help me maintain this office. And I'm also moving to a different office, so it's going to be different, so I can be louder without having the baby in the next room. So thank you guys for joining the Patreon and the membership. You have no idea how much it helps and supports the channel. Also, let's go to Past Doug talking about today's sponsor, Manscape.com. If you don't know about Manscape.com, they are fantastic products that include Lawnmower 4.0 and other great products for the man hygiene. Women can use it as well. But they sent me the Perfect Package 4.0, which comes with, again, the Lawnmower 4.0. It's their newer version of it, hence 4.0. Waterproof, has a light on it. Great for your skin, doesn't nick you. Use it on my face all the time. I shape myself up, which I need to do recently, but you could use it anywhere on your body that hair is. They sent that to me. They also sent me the Crop Preserver, and they sent me the Crop Reviver in this Perfect Package 4.0. If you use the promo code DDW20, you're going to get yourself 20% off. You're going to get yourself some free shipping, and you're also going to get yourself 2 gifts with this. So go over to manscape.com, use the promo code DDW20, and get yourself the Perfect Package 4.0. And thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, let me pop it up. Boop. Let me slide over. And there's Travis. Travis's beautiful face. We're going to see what Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier has to say.
Fans, Travis Wingfield here, the host of the Drive Time podcast on the Miami Dolphins Podcast Network, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, general manager Chris Grier. Guys, welcome in.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to have you into the living room set here. Mike, your second time back with me here. And you guys have worked together for about a month or so now. How has the process of kind of the melding of the minds played out as you prepare for both free agency and the draft?
Just like that. It's been a real cool process, to be honest, because there's a part of Chris's process that I can identify with, that I kind of want for me as a head coach, and being deliberate in everything you do. He's very patient in how he goes through his process, and that's something that going into this job that was a big deal for me in terms of how I wanted to approach it. It's been very fulfilling, but also challenging to keep up with this guy. He's a lot later night guy than I am, so he burns me out, but I let him carry the conversation when we get towards about this time to 10 p.m.
I have to imagine you reciprocate some of those feelings through the interview process and now working alongside Coach.
Yeah, and he's a lot earlier in the morning than I am too, so so it balances. And but no, it's been fun with the coaching staff that Mike's put together. Other coaches have been fantastic in terms of getting us going, and in terms of free agency, the draft, preparing for the combine here. Working with Mike, like you said, the conversation we're having today about the just the process when you gather the information, putting it all together. And I've learned things from him too as well. So this is not just, one way of doing it. There's always ways that you try and learn from other people and different ways of doing things from his experiences, with other teams have been successful. And so it's been a really good process so far.
Have those conversations you guys have had come up in some film sessions you've had together? And if you've watched film together, current Dolphins players, free agent prospects, draft prospects, what have you guys kind of learned from each other in that process?
I would say, like the other day with the scouts, Mike has prepared a tape of what he's looking for at, the running back position. And it was a great teaching moment, for us. And the offensive coaching staff came in and sat and listened. So a very good visual opportunity for all the scouts and coaches to be in the one room, talking about what we're looking for at the position, and the things that Mike has had success in finding players at San Francisco. I know our scouts did really appreciate it, 'cause I know a couple of them reached out to Mike and said how much they enjoyed it.
Is that something you had kind of prepared ahead of time before the job?
I find that very interesting. First off, Chris Grier talking about that Mike McDaniel put this coaching staff together. A lot of people were confused about, especially the previous coaching staffs, who puts the coaching staff together. The GM really rarely ever puts the coaching staff together. It's mostly the coach puts his coaching staff together. But I find it interesting that Mike McDaniel essentially is saying to the scouts and saying to Chris Grier, look, this is the type of player that's going to do well and have a good career in this system. So the scouts are going to watch it, look for the zone run type running backs, look for the zone run type offensive linemen, look for whatever type of defense, yada, yada. And they're going to go out there and they're going to scout and they take notes. Because when we do the free agent breakdown of potential targets, I will show you how some, designate certain players as certain type, really good at man, really good at zone, really good this type of offense, really good in this type of offense, or versatile in both. So I find that very interesting there that, Mike McDaniel sitting down with the scouts, kind of giving them film. This is what we're looking for. He's probably showing Raheem Mostert. He's probably showing, Deebo Samuel's style. He's probably showing all these styles and saying this is what will work with the type of offense. And then defensive side, again, I find it interesting that he put the coaching staff together. From what Chris Grier is saying, again, you could take that with whatever you want, but he kept the defensive staff together, and I wonder if that is a caveat that got him this job. But let's continue to see what they have to say.
Job, or is it something you put together as you've gotten here?
No, that's what's exciting about working with Chris, and you don't really go into this situation thinking I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. It's working with him, and it takes a lot of people to really to have one vision, and facilitating that. No, you don't know if that is even an opportunity really until you're in a building working with people, and that's part of the positives of being in Miami Gardens.
You guys mentioned that kind of singular vision, or you did, Coach, and I'm sure that's shared between both of you. Have you kind of developed together a core list of traits of what you want to look for in a Miami Dolphin under this current regime?
Yeah, and we talked about it, and we've talked about it with the coaches and scouts. But first and foremost, you're always looking for guys that love football.
And it doesn't have to also just be flatline. Hey, let's have this conversation. For instance, my first week on the job, there's players coming to my office to speak with me for the first time, and in those players, I'm recognizing traits that I prioritize. So that we don't have to have those conversations, although we do, but the most tangible way that I know that we're on the same page is the players that Chris and his staff have acquired before I was even here. Their values, I can feel their passion when they're talking to me about the Miami Dolphins moving forward. And that, there's indicators like that all over the place as well. We're, entering into this whole thing knowing that our philosophies are kind of parallel.
So you inherit a roster of players that fits a lot of those cores, and now we head into the scouting combine this week where that's the idea, is trying to find players that fit those core Miami Dolphins.
I find it interesting that he also talked about the players coming to talk to him. We kind of saw already that he is trying and building some type of relationship with these players, especially the ones that are going to be on the roster: Christian Wilkins, Tua Tagovailoa, Waddle. some of the offensive linemen, defensive players, because we saw in the clip where I'll pop it up if you haven't seen it, where at the cancer bike-a-thon that the Miami Dolphins put together and raised a ton of money. So congratulations on the Miami Dolphins side for putting so much money in that cancer benefit. Picked Christian Wilkins up off the ground, and Christian Wilkins gave him a big hug. It seems like he's building that rapport with these players. And you have seen with past players talk about Mike McDaniel, about how much he is a player's coach. Greg Kittle, FaceTiming him during the Pro Bowl. Past, I think it was Pierre Garçon, I might have been, talking about him when he was with Washington. Just consistent, and even Wes Welker talking about him a little bit as a coach to coach. So far, I'm not getting my hopes up. I know some people hate that I keep saying that, but I'm liking this so far.
Traits, and as you guys head into the combine, what can you look back and say, we accomplished this, therefore the week at the combine was successful?
I really enjoy sitting down talking to players, and the underwear Olympics part of it, as we talk about, is
right.
That part is always important to see, but it's really, I think for us, we were talking about how important it is, the interview parts, that we really get to sit down and really meet the players for the first time.
So
Side note, the underwear Olympics, which they are essentially, you get a rough idea of what these players are going to be like, but it's a rough idea because they don't have pads on, they don't have pressure in their face. There's a lot of variables that aren't present in the combine, aka the underwear Olympics. It's more how fast is this guy, but again, how fast is he almost naked? But the other big thing that we're probably going to hear a lot from the combine is rumors. This is where GMs start talking to each other. This is where owners start talking to each other. This is where coaches start talking to each other. And this is where rumors, so-and-so might trade for so-and-so. So-and-so is talking about trading for so-and-so. Yada, yada. This is around the time that Watson's situation started popping up. So keep an ear out. But obviously I'm going to be talking about it throughout the whole combine situation about potential rumors that are going to pop up.
Behind the scenes, obviously important. The on-the-field stuff has its importance too. How do you kind of balance what you see with the on-field workouts compared to what you see on tape, and how those two things kind of come together for the overall evaluation?
Well, that's one thing that, again, we see things similarly where Chris was very clear about, hey, this portion of the evaluation, we try to focus on football and keeping that separate from the people so you can have equal evaluations and then bring them together, which he articulated a lot better than I had in my mind, but I was like, yeah, that makes total sense to me. He does such a great job of giving me wisdom without insulting, like, hey, young guy, this makes more sense. And so we were able to bridge stuff together, and that's what's defining how we do stuff, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And kind of the same question to you, Chris, when you look at, obviously your scouting process goes through the course of the whole season, the college season, and you get to this point. How do you kind of balance what you see out there on the underwear Olympics, as you called it, versus what you see on tape, and how that kind of makes the overall evaluation?
Again, it's all parts, like Coach was saying. You're taking the film from the fall, so you said that who he is as a player tells you what he is as a player on the field in game situations. Then now the interview process, all-star games, you get to see like small college guys taking on guys from Alabama or something, so you get a better feel there. Then you do the interview process, so you get to know the guys the first time. Then you got the 30 visits after that, and you're spending more time with them. And then that leads up to the April meetings and the drafts, and so you put all that together, and that helps us, hopefully make good decisions, and we realize we'll never bat 1,000. No one does, but you try and make the best educated decisions we can with all the information we get.
Yeah,
I find it interesting that he talks about that because, that's essentially the process that's going to happen during the combine, during the offseason, during the pro days, all leading up to the draft. There's a ton of meetings with the players, whether it's virtual or in person. There was a lot of virtual the past 2 years. You meet with them at the pro day, you meet with them at the combine, you ask them questions, some ridiculous questions to try to gauge the type of player they are, the type of character they have. But he talks about a lot of the, you take the underwear Olympics, you take the film, you kind of mend them together. There's a few there's a few players that we drafted that we never even met with. So I find that very interesting. I don't know if the player they wanted wasn't there, so they went with the backup option that they didn't talk to. But I find that interesting.
A lengthy process, and Coach, obviously you get the benefit of working with Chris and the experience of his staff. And has there been any crossover between the coaching staff and the scouting staff as you guys kind of work together to build this roster this offseason?
Crossover in terms of
watching tape together, the conversations.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff.
That's part of the process that Chris early on made clear that he found was valuable. I said, you know what? I think it's valuable too. Yeah, there's been in terms of speaking on players, acquiring information. You know, you can hear his full understanding of the process and how you have to take the time to gather all the information. That's what I personally find so valuable. Within that, you have time to say, hey, this is our time to talk about the backgrounds of these players together so we can hear it. Oh, we have some time that we can watch some film together. All that crossovers, having been in numerous organizations, I know how special that is.
To Mike's credit, he always thought that was a valuable thing too, to have coaches and scouts so everyone's on the same page and know what we're looking for. And Coach Embry came in, he was only here for like 2 days. He came in and just wanted to sit in on meetings, and it was great. He came in, sat in, and I know he knew, like Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen and those guys, and he would ask questions on stuff, and and listening and taking in information, asking them questions and their opinions to really hear what they thought about stuff. So it's been pretty cool, and all the coaches have been just like that.
I find it interesting. I keep saying I find it interesting. People forget about Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen being part of the scouting and the front office, because they have brought in some very good NFL players. But what is the most interesting is how much you're hearing them preach and talk about like cohesion and working together and watching film together and sitting in on meetings together and da-da-da-da. After getting rid of Brian Flores, who they reported was hard to work with. So I find that very interesting that they are pushing it in this meeting. Oh, we work together, which if is true, right? Which I'm hoping it is. That's kind of how it should work, right? The head coach sits down with the GM or sits down with the scouts and goes through film, right? And says, this is what I'm looking for. I kind of don't like the way this guy's moving. I think he's too slow. I think his hips this, that, da-da-da. Can we try to get this guy, pull up tape in free agency, da-da-da, maybe, trade this or trade, I'll see what I can do, Chris Grier, or, I can go after him, and, we'll see if they'll take this, or cohesion. Or, this guy's not working. I'm thinking of, this guy in free agency, what's the dead cap if we get rid of this guy, or, could you trade him and potentially, that's what they should be doing. It's not get me this guy. I want Deshaun Watson and that's it. Okay, all right. We'll get you Deshaun. That's not how it works. So, not saying that that's how it was or that's how it is, but I just find it interesting that they keep bringing up the fact that they keep working together.
That's a result of the environment. What you see is what you get with Chris, and that is a powerful thing in the place of leadership, because Coach Embry's there for 2 days, and he jumps in and takes a seat right at the corner, almost violating your personal space and your note-taking, and they're just going to work like we've been working together for years. And that we've both been fortunate enough to have enough experience in the NFL to know that is something that, we all are passionate about our jobs, but if you can do stuff with people that are like-minded in the pursuit of the same goal, with no ego or no worry about who's getting credit or what, more often than not, you hope you can get to the answers that are best for the team.
I like that he said no ego in who gets credit or not, because I notice a lot with the fan base, it's not about who gets credit or not, it's about who gets blamed or not. Who is blamed for Noah's pick? Who is blamed for Austin Jackson's pick? Who is blamed for not going for, Maines, or who's not, Miners, sorry, not Maines, who's not, it's always instead of who gets the credit.
So you guys felt that click pretty quickly.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Interview process, was part of that problem?
I mean, he hired me, so I think.
It went okay, right?
Okay. I think it worked out, but definitely it was that's a big part of it too.
So the combine coming up this week, always one of the best opportunities to improve your football team. And one trait we hear a lot, or a phrase I should say we hear a lot, is raw. This player is raw. When you have an opportunity to draft a player who is quote unquote raw, and the high upside and the risk adversity you have to approach a player to that, how do you kind of balance the value of what your coaching staff can do to develop said player, because he maybe needs a little bit more development, opposed to a player who came into the league with more production and a proven resume? How do you kind of balance that with a new coaching staff?
Well, I think at the end of the day,
Well, that's a tough one.
I think at the end of the day, really very few players, you probably have maybe 10% come in ready, they're ready to handle pro football, but a lot of these guys are all going to need development. So you can say they're all raw. And I think the coaching staff, especially the staff Mike's put together, are teachers, and that's the fun part of the group he's put together, is that doing the research and talking to people about it as he was recommending guys. Everyone talked about what great teachers are, how smart they are, and how engaging they get their players to be with them. And so that's the exciting part of staff he's put together, and looking forward to seeing them on the field in the spring. But majority of these players, again, are raw prospects.
So heading into the offseason.
Yeah. Everyone wants that instant success. Everyone wants the, Micah Parsons or Mekhi Parsons, however you say his name. Even Waddle, Jamar Chase actually wasn't an instant success. I would even say kind of Waddle, Phillips, and Javon Holland weren't an instant success. Because especially with Phillips and Holland, you notice that they were there, but they weren't until like maybe week 5. All of a sudden, you started seeing them making the big hits, making the sacks, getting the things. Jamar Chase, his preseason, everyone was like, does he have a catching problem? So Chris Grier's not wrong in the fact that about 10% of the draft, and you still look at it, it's 253, so about 25, if he's right, about 10% of the draft is, raw. Not raw, sorry. Come in and plug and play. The other 200 and something is raw. They need some time to develop. And could it be 4 games? Could it be a year? Could it be 2 years? Could it be 3 years? You guys have heard me talk about it. I don't judge drafts until 3 years after. And, I started that whole series on this channel where I'm going to look back 3 years and look at our draft and see what I thought about it. So, yeah, sometimes it takes a minute, sometimes it don't.
Here, you guys enter this portion of the calendar with almost no dead cap, Chris, and the most available cap space heading into free agency. How does that kind of help you guys to formulate a plan for the offseason to improve this football team in the kind of player acquisition period here?
Being able to know that we have flexibility to do stuff is good, but at the end of the day, we're going to build the team that's best for us.
Yeah, it's not like mom's allowance she just gave you. That you're just like, hey, we have some money, let's go spend it. Flexibility, for sure. That matters, but then that doesn't always mean, hey, you have money, you can spend it, which is, why I rely on him so much, because he Mike, now let's think about it. And that's a huge part of the process that, coaches can be short-sighted at times, so you need proper balance when talking through anything, especially when you're talking about salary cap and spending limits and all these numbers that I'm like, well, I know what a post and a slant and a dig are, if we want to talk about that,
So you gave me a great segue to my final question here, talking about the kind of patience and impatience at times. When you talk about a development plan for a player, Chris, you talk a lot about developing your guys in-house and eventual draft picks. Is that, when you look at a player you're looking to draft, is there a long-term focus in terms of, we plan to develop this way in year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to eventually get that player to where you ultimately see their projection? And how do you guys kind of collaborate on that?
We don't necessarily micromanage it every time you do anything. Get the best player available. You're trying to sign the best player that you can that's responsible for your team. Yeah, you'd like to say, hey, this guy's going to be X, Y, or Z at this year. There's a lot of variables that go into that. So you just really have to invest in people, and you're investing in the coaches that are dealing with them every day to make sure that they teach them as best they can, and you have confidence that everyone's putting their best foot forward. And you know what? Maybe a guy develops slow in year 1, but then he accelerates in year 2. You know, the ambition doesn't stop, or the vision doesn't stop. Maybe he accelerates a ton in year 1. Well, he better not take a step back in year 2. You know, it's all part of, you know, doing our job on a daily basis as best we can, and relying on each other to come to the best decisions we possibly can make.
That's all I got for you guys.
Great interview. Last thing I'm going to talk about with what they said is, especially when it came to free agency, right? Mike McDaniel talks about that, the fact that he's like, Grier's like, whoa, hold on. Because you can probably, and I've seen some of you guys in the comment section on Twitter, or I've seen other sites and stuff, put their fantasy, you know, free agency together. And someone might want Ryan Jensen, Orlando Brown, you know, Armstrong. That's like $60 million, you know, $50 million in 3 players on your offensive line in 1 year. So you're going to go into, you know, depending if we have around 80 with cuts and, you know, blah, 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 you're going to have 30 million to do the rest. So I like the fact that he says that, because if he had it his way, he would do that too. He'd build the best offensive line in front of whoever, Tua. Again, I'm saying whoever because whoever. Tua, best offensive line in front of him. Get the best wide receivers, the best, and then you're broke. Then you're the Saints, then you're the Packers, and you're broke. So Chris Grier has, you know, once Mike Tannenbaum left and he stopped screwing up the cap, Chris Grier has done really well at structuring contracts and making sure that we don't have a consistent dead cap and we have money after a certain period of time, right? Like, so he might front load these contracts for this year and next year. So next year we might not have a ton of money, kind of like what we did with 2020 going into 2021. But then all of a sudden, if things don't pan out, you got money in 2024. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how free agency goes. It's going to be interesting, all the stuff that's going to come out on the combine. It's the draft, everything. Obviously, I'm going to break videos down. I'm going to talk about it. If more interviews like this happen, especially at the combine, I'm going to do reaction to it because you guys really tend to like these reactions. But that's what I got for you today. Tomorrow, me and Big O, we're going to sit down and record. That'll probably be out Wednesday. And then I got the free agent videos coming out. And then I think the 21st is when I'm going to start doing top 5 prospects, because that gives me about a month to bang out so many different prospects. I always give myself not enough time, and then all of a sudden I'm screwed. So I'm going to start breaking down prospects, I think, on the 21st. So I give it do the 28th. I'll give free agency. Free agency starts on, the tampering period starts the 14th to 15th, and then free agency starts on the Wednesday the 16th at 4 p.m. is when it starts. So I'll give it a week. And then, so about the 24th, I will start doing my draft videos. But that's what I got for you guys. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. But also comment and hit that thumbs up. That means so much. I love reading you guys' comments and interacting with all you beautiful human beings. But on that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Like usual, stay classy and fins up.